with the mission to keep as many men on as many guns for as long as possible. We called him Doc. Welcome to Combat Vet Vision. And now your host, Aaron Chief Seabird.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Welcome to Combat Vet Vision. Hey, this is a platform, a place where combat vets get to tell their stories. I get to tell mine. There's a lot of things that are always going on uh, that add to the dynamic of the combat vet aura. And I'm not the only one speaking. So it's always good to get their perspective, and it's an important thing. So Combat Vet Vision is put together by SitchRadio.com, managing and producing my show with Brian Colburn there at the helm. And he does podcasts, so this is really kind of a cool thing. And I know today's show is kind of reflect some personal story and just going through kind of a rodeo of my life a little bit in some aspects. Some really good points too. Learning experiences and experiences in general. And I think these experiences continually challenge me as a combat vet to always remain cool, calm, and collective as best as I can do under certain circumstances. And some of those circumstances really push us to the limits of our comfort zone and ability to kind of tolerate. And sometimes I feel like it's always on the verge of causing problems in our lives somehow. Whether it's we take the anger and the frustration out on the wrong people, or we push directions and in bad areas where it creates an environment that's very toxic and difficult to manage. So as we get into today's show, this is my trip, Ukraine to Poland and back to the United States. And it's kind of a trip because I left for Ukraine. And my my overall time was Ukraine, Poland, and then back here has been almost 3 years, a 3-year journey. And I want to say that it's been a really good one, and it really pushed me to utilize the resources that I have technology wise to try to tap into stuff that we use every day. Social media. Some people say it's a bad thing, and it can be. But it's also a good tool to reach out to our combat vets, to reach out to people, to reach out to things, and to manage some stuff. And a matter of fact, even in the work environment, things are changing so rapidly that they're asking us to use Teams instead of emails, because in Teams you collectively get your data and it goes through a system that's already in place for the PTSD Foundation of America. And to talk about that a little bit, the PTSD Foundation of America is something that I work for. I directly help combat vets through. I have the ability to get them to a place for support and in Houston, Texas, no cost to the vet to get to a place where they can fully function and kind of really guide out their life and really get off some drugs, alcohol, whatever it might be that's really frustrating or causing the problem. And manage the PTSD at the same time is really what the endeavor is, and so that people can come back into society and actually integrate in a more balanced way and sorts. So I hope that's a really cool place, Camp Hope, and I go there and I check it out. But I also operate as the PTSD Foundation of America under Camp Hope, and really kind of reaching out to our combat vets on a day-to-day basis. And they don't need Camp Hope. They just need some camaraderie, some understanding, some ability to drop off something that's really carrying heavy with them in their day-to-day lives, as far as like dealing with all the things that we deal with. And then we also have the PTSD. I mean, Warrior Built Foundation, which is something I do with too. But in getting back to my trip and my journey. I met my wife and traveled over to Ukraine to date her and spent some time. And then we got married after the war started, the war with Ukraine and Russia. I didn't really feel like it was going to start because I was there and enjoying the environment and understanding that, the people were just working their butts off, working hard to make a little bit of money to survive. And they just stayed to themselves. They very just some happy-go-lucky people, but at the same time, not I didn't feel like they were overly aggressive in any one direction for anything that I saw. Corruption-wise, the police department, the interactions that I had with them was, staying out too late for COVID one time, and um, going to karaoke and singing for a while, and then finding out that the police needed to raid that place because they didn't have anything better to do on a Friday night than to prevent the COVID problem of staying out too late. So if that's what they have to do on a Friday night, then that tells me that their crime rates are very minimal in a lot of ways. And so that was an interesting aspect that I saw. And then the other one was I went through a light that was questionable yellow to red, and I don't think I made it in time. But the police officer had to come up and explain to me, hey, here's the problem. You went through the light, blah, blah, blah. He was super polite, everything like this. And then he had to show me on the video, like, hey, here's the video. The light turns, and then you obviously, made it through after that possibility. And it was really close. But, at the same time, I want to be responsible, and I tried to be doing it right. And the guy was super polite, super courteous. And he then said, hey, you can take care of it and do this, and that, and it'll be down the line, and it'll be this, or you can, pay with your credit card right now. And here's the credit card machine we have, blah, blah, blah. It's real simple. It's even the tap it machine. And it's $20, a $20 ticket. You can't find a $20 ticket in America anywhere that I know of anymore. But so me, it was looking at this in a corruption type scenario, because you really is Ukraine corrupt, or is it America's influence on the corruption with Biden going over there and you can see it on film when he talks. He's like, hey, I made this really cool deal with Ukraine. If they didn't do this, then they weren't going to have their money, and I was going to come back without it. And it was this whole thing, and I don't know how it went down. But Burisma obviously comes to mind when you think about corruption in Ukraine. And if you tell somebody, hey, we're going to give you money, and I'm going to send my guy Joe to go deliver it, and Joe shows up and says, hey, I'm going to give you this money. I know we promised you, but you might need to put my son on the on a thing so I can he can make some money. Yeah, it's only say that he works about 15 minutes every month on this whole project, but you're going to pay $1 million of this money, or whatever it is, per month. So that to me is kind of extortion in a lot of ways. But hey, I don't want to get into the politics of it all, but I can understand, after seeing that, my idea and my mind is already set to think that Ukraine is corrupt. But if you really look at it, it's Joe Biden went over there and made it look like they're corrupt, because they weren't going to get any of the money if they didn't do the right thing that he had suggested. So that is a gangster type move in anybody's book. But it seems like sometimes our politicians are immune to having that kind of setup. And I'm not just not gonna bag on him. There's a lot of them that probably need to figure out, hey, are you really taking care of the people of the United States of America? Are you really taking care of the people that you represent? Or are you blending in so that programs can exist, so that systems can stay in place that should not even be in place anymore? But that's just one of those things. So I get a little irritated at the way that sometimes the balance of life as we see it is holding the coin of Ukraine's corruption at the hand, and it was already it's just a weird thing to me. So I just want to put that out there, because I think everybody's got their hands tied in the government, and there's a system. I think Trump, is he's outside of the system, and nobody wants him to be in there because if he gets in there, he disrupts the system, and the system is, open borders, just let everybody in, leave your door open. So I don't want to get too much more into that. But hey, so anyway, my story was that I was in Ukraine and I was enjoying it, and it was a really a great opportunity. Your dollar goes a lot further in some countries. Ukraine was one of them. My dollar is about 3 times stronger than it is in the U.S. However, now it's 4 times stronger. For whatever reason, the market is really low. So the dollar is about 41 grivnas to every $1. When I was there, it was like $28, 28 grivnas to $1. So you can see that the dollar's like a lot stronger. So as I was going through this, I did a whole film, and I filmed like 2 or 3 days before the war went out, and I was like, hey, check it out. The people are just going about their day-to-day lives. They're trying to do this and that, and they're just selling their goods, doing everything that they do, and then boom, wake up at dark 30 on the I believe it was the 2nd of February, or 23rd of February, 22nd of February, and like, hey, Chief, you got to get out of there, man. The war did kick off. So I was like, I was hoping it wasn't going to happen, but I kind of look at it like this. Ukraine was doing a lot for their infrastructure. Ukraine was doing a lot for this. They were taking care of their people. They were adding nice roads to bad roads, because they have a lot of bad roads, and they have a lot of really good ones too. But they were starting to stand up on their own a lot more than Russia wanted them to. And I think Russia came to the wall every single year claiming that they were going to start this war. So we as Americans, we put our money in the bank, 90% of our money in the bank, and maybe 10% that we keep as fluid money that we're going to operate on. In Ukraine, it's the opposite of that. They probably put 10% in the bank and keep 90% because they don't know what's going to happen, because Russia's always right there at the door, trying to knock at their door, waiting to come in every single year for 20 years, or 31 years, and always causing that kind of rift. So the banking the market itself cannot stretch very far with that kind of system in play. So when that kicked off, there was just a lot of things in my mind that I kind of felt like it was kind of a bully move. It was kind of silly, the whole thing with Nazis. I will say that there was probably, one guy that I ever ran into that I could say, yeah, he might be considered that, but he was just kind of a goofy dude and drinking a lot. So other than that, I never saw anything that was Nazi related. But so those kind of things just kind of got on my nerves. So then we left, and we drove, and we're driving, and we went to Vinitzer and stayed one night with Vika's aunt and uncle, and then we got up the next morning, and there's some sirens going off because there might be some missiles in the air coming that direction, and it was kind of a wild ride. Then we had to go down to we kept going and got into a village, and at night we were driving down a hill, and at the bottom of the hill was a left curve, super sharp, and the road had just iced over, so we slid off the road and broke the front wheel off, and had to stick around in a village for a couple of days before we finally got on a bus, and we determined that we couldn't fix the car. Got on a bus and continued on our journey, and from bus to train, and finally got into Poland. And as we stayed in Poland for the last 2 years, almost, it would have been 2 years come this February. But we just enjoyed the fact that a 4-mile radius has everything you need, and the public transportation, the trains, the trains, the buses, the cabs, super easy to navigate. Everything was super awesome and easy to navigate, and you could go to your store and buy your groceries, multiple different stores within that 4-mile radius. multiple different little shops, coffee shops, things like that. So it's just kind of a really kind of, unique experience to be able to just uh, kind of live your life, live, love, live, play, work kind of environment within that 4 mile radius. You could go outside of that too, but you didn't really need to because there was a lot of entertainment value. There's a lot of things that the World Trade Center was right there, and it always has some really awesome things coming up for the holidays, Christmas rides, and different things. So it's just a really cool thing. And but we worked on the visas for Vika and her kids, and we got over here. But the problem with that was that and I made some trips in between that, like to come back for certain things, training, uh, different events for veterans that were important and needed me to be there. So I came back multiple times during that time. I even did a Mac flight, and I talked about that a little bit. The Mac flight excursion. That was kind of a wild ride. It was my second time back uh, from this last December. I think it came in July and August on that one, and that was an experience and a half. But but coming back this last time, I didn't expect it to be so crazy. We got some trip tickets to come here. Um, it's kind of expensive to get, two cats, a dog, two kids, and your wife over here. And during that journey, because of the timing, we get a text at like midnight. We're supposed to leave the next day, and it's like, hey, your flight's been canceled. And we're like, what? So we're close to the airport. We take a cab down there. Um, Someone finally shows up around 4 o'clock when the plane's supposed to leave, kind of thing. And we're like, hey, what's the deal? What can we do? And they start going through this process, and like, hey, you need to reschedule, blah 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 blah. Well, it takes a lot to get a service dog squared away. It takes a lot to get the animals approved. It takes a lot to make all these things different things happen. And it was already set, and so I got it to the point where I had to call, and I was on the phone for probably 4 or 5 hours, something like that, before someone picked up and went through the process of squaring us away and getting us on the third, another flight. And I also had to talk about Liberty and make sure she was good to go. Um, and we were getting close to our 10-day limit for the animals to have a health certificate that's good, because I basically got it 5 days prior, 6 or 7 days prior to the third, because I wanted to make sure that we were good to go on that Monday, and we're flying out on, I think, Sunday or something like that. But anyway, there was a lot of different struggles in this whole thing, and the third got canceled as well. And by that time, our certificate was getting really close. I didn't want to even push it because, that's just one last thing. So when got that thing recertified, went to took the cats and the dogs to the animal clinic again, got a new cert, and went back, and I actually left the documents because I don't know what I was doing, and left the documents in the bathroom and went back to the hotel. We're now going to leave on the 5th. Wake up on the 5th. I realized that I left the documents. Went over to the airport. We went around. Vika ended up finding the information desk, and they had the papers. So at 3 in the morning, or 3 or 4 in the morning, they had the paperwork, and so I was really amazed that we had that. It was the passports for the cats, and the passports for Liberty. So I was like, oh shoot, we're gonna have to leave these animals behind because of me. And so there's a lot of things that I was kind of just going through, just a wild ride. But on top of that, only part of our flight was good to go. The other part got canceled. So we had to fly into Germany, and then from Germany, we needed to fly into San Francisco. And I said, hey, I really don't care where we get into America, but we need to be in America because the visas will expire if they're not executed by the 12th of December. So it's a huge, crazy ordeal. But But yeah, so we flew in to San Francisco, and we're flying into San Francisco. We're almost there. And at the end, very as we're going in, the pilot's like, yeah, we're not going to San Francisco. We're going to Oakland. So we land in Oakland. Now we got the cats. They haven't gone potty. The dog hasn't gone potty. We're sitting on the Oakland tarmac for about 2.5 hours. And then they're like, hey, we're going to refuel the plane and fly back over to uh, San Francisco. But San Francisco, the reason we couldn't land was because the fog was too thick. And that's common. It happens a lot. And so the fog cleared. We finally land, going through all these different processes. And and during these processes, I got to tell you, there's some funny things that kind of occur. Um, One was in Germany, as we're walking through, I get stopped and I'm asked to go over and check out to this other secondary, deal and get swabbed again. And Liberty's with me, and I finally go through the process and I make it through. But for Americans, I feel like sometimes we get a bad rap because I think there's a lot of maybe Americans doing things they shouldn't be doing overseas and causing problems and whatever it might be. Um, and so maybe we get pulled aside a little bit more than normal. But it's been my experience that I've gotten pulled a couple of times, even on my trips back and forth. Uh, Random bag searches, random this that. Questioning, how much money you're bringing out of the country. Just weird stuff, stuff that I think, uh, yeah, I just want to go into the politics of it all, but I'll not do that. But anyway, I do. I finally get through these points, and then when we get back into agriculture, I got the two cats, I got Liberty, and they start questioning me about Liberty, like, oh, Liberty's from the United States, right? And I'm like, yeah, she's been here, she's trained here. This is her service dog. She's an American dog. Like, oh, can we see your dog food? And so we pull it up, and it's like in a dog food bag, and they're like, okay, you don't have any in just like an open plastic bag, so you can't have that. You definitely got to make sure it's like a commercial type bag. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. And at the same time, like, yeah, I got these two cats here too, and they're like, yeah, we just need to see your rabies, we need to see your vaccines. All right, you're good to go. You can go. And I'm like, what about these two cat criminals that have never, they like to steal stuff out of refrigerators or stuff like this? And they're like, oh no, those things are good to go, man. You're good to go. Have a good day. I was like, but on the other hand, I flew into Ukraine with Liberty, and I was like, hey, I got the service dog, and I got all of her documents. They're like, yeah, that's cool. We don't need to see your documents. Have a good day. So there's times that it goes really smooth one way, but coming back, it's kind of a wild ride. Needless to say, Liberty held her pee or poop, whatever, and the cats too until probably a good 24 hours, 25 hours, something like that, during the plane flight to this, to that, to this next category, to, getting picked up at the airport. And what's cool about it is I got picked up in San Diego. We finally had to get to San Diego. We missed our flight to San Diego, the earlier flight. Finally could take another flight. We get in about 9 o'clock at night on the 5th. Um, and, my buddies are out there already waiting to pick us up. And my wife's like, hey, I hope your friends are ready to pick us up because I'm so tired. I'm like, no, trust me. They're military guys. They're waiting on us. They're waiting on us. Exactly true. And that's the thing, it was like coping with all the stress of everything, being a screw up yourself, dropping the ball on some things, as much as, we train to try to have our stuff together, it just seems like we always have something that we forget or something that we drop the ball on. But my experience has always been, as a team, you can always accomplish everything you need to accomplish because you can rely on each other as a team to do this. And that's as a family, as a dynamic as this. It's the same thing. And I dropped the ball, but I was able to pick it up in a better light and figure it all out, and it worked out. Um, Even without the cats and dogs documents, we found them and made it work. But getting through all that stuff, crazy navigation. So as I put a couple more thoughts together, I'm going to take a break real quick. We'll come back, but I'm going to do the PSA and talk to you about the whole, being back and some of that stuff. Be right back. Thanks. Oh,
This message is from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Do you want easy access to VA Online, as well as other government websites? Then login.gov is the way to go. Login.gov is a U.S. government service that provides seamless access to government websites. By creating a login.gov account, you can use the same email and password to sign into va.gov, My Healthy Vet, VA DoD e-benefits, and the VA Health and Benefits mobile app, among other VA services. Login.gov also allows you to securely sign in to USA Jobs and TSA PreCheck, and to apply for SBA small business loans and disaster assistance. One login, many resources. To create a login.gov account, simply go to va.gov and click sign in.
hey, we're back. Combat Vet Vision. Hey, that was a PSA from the VA. They selected my podcast and some other ones that were doing some incredible things for our veterans to drop their messages in. So it's great to have that. I just want to say it's great to be here on the show with Brian Colburn, managing it from SitchRadio.com and producing my show. And we're talking about my trip to through Iraq. I mean through Ukraine, uh, Poland, and then back to the U.S. And so we got to we got to the U.S. and I was basically just saying how some of the struggles of all that. Um, just want to reflect on it and constantly better yourself or prepare yourself for these hiccups, these situations. And so you want to get to the airport in plenty of time to just kind of deal with things that might come up, and the teamwork that it takes to put something like that together logistically, getting all the bags that we brought back, 6 of the biggest suitcases you can have, 50-pounders each, and 5 backpacks or something like that, 2 cats and a dog. So it's quite a large logistical footprint. Borrowing a truck from a buddy of mine from Icon Building Supplies in San Diego that allowed that to happen. And then from having buddies back here in the States, one of my buddies sold me his car, 2007 BMW, 146,000 miles on it. It's a good piece of gear too. It's it's an older car, but runs great and does the job, and took care of a lot of things that we needed to, and we made that happen too. To get into the balance of, hey, what am I going to do with my life? How am I going to manage it? Living now in Kingman, Arizona, doing a lot back and forth from California to here, but because of everything that I do online, as far as like reaching out to my vets, reaching out to sponsors, supporters, volunteers, to meetings, with meetings that are required. They don't always require you to be there anymore because such a awesome set of technologies out there that exist to help us out. So taking advantage of some of that, super important, and super important to be able to manage your mind and heart and soul, and have all these assets, these resources, these veterans that I surround myself, good people that are trying to do good things, as well as guys that are in bad places trying to do good things, trying to figure out what they're going to do in their life. And I think it's giving back that has really mattered to me. And my journey, the biggest thing that I found about America that I can honestly say, and it's an unfortunate thing that I even have to say it, is that if you want to be a rich American, you might have to leave America. Meaning, if my dollar is going that far over there in Ukraine, man, it was super nice to not have to worry about what I'm putting in my basket when I go shopping, or getting around, or going to restaurants, or doing anything. Just being able to manage my spending, my money, with that not so heavy weight on it, was a really important thing to me, and it was something that I was happy to learn. And just learning to be patient with myself, because I can be fired up, and I'm trying to drive a little bit nicer and easier these days too, because being aggressive all the time isn't the way to be. It feels good, but there's a place and a time for that. I would say it's in the gym for sure. Be aggressive with yourself. Be good to yourself at the same time, and all these good things. But yeah, that was my trip. And my trip now, has me in Kingman, Arizona, and it has me going back and forth to California. When I first got here, I was in California for a good 15 days in December. And then here in Kingman now at about 15 days. So, yeah, so it's quite a journey. If you have any questions, if you want to know more about it, if you want to just ask me about it, feel free. You can reach me all the time here. You can find me all over the internet. You can, text me, whatever it might be. I respond to texts, but you got to make sure you let me know who you are as far as a name and what your intention is. Don't just say, "Hey, what's up, man? Here's my number." I won't respond to that, because there's too many people that do that. Too many scams out there trying to do some stuff. And there's a lot of scams right around the holiday time. There was one that was trying to say, have my mom, she was thinking she was going to win some money or something like that, and they wanted her to go get a card, pay the taxes with some card from whatever. So, and then there's plenty of them calling you all the time saying, "Hey, this and this and that." And so it's really hard to manage some of that. And they're getting smarter all the time. So keep your mind level-headed and be able to talk or shut down on these guys. So I don't even answer my phone if I don't recognize the number. So please, if you need to get a hold of me, leave a message. I will call you back. I promise. As long as it's legit. Yeah. Hey, but I appreciate you. Hey, this is Aaron Siebert signing off. This is Combat Vet Vision from SitchRadio.com. Strength and honor. Out.
Under blue skies, the only way, like the sun bidding goodbye.